Hello ladies and gentlemen, ZPro here bringing you another Minecraft WW1 tutorial. In this tutorial we'll be going ahead and covering how to build the trenches. Now these trench designs here are basically very universal. These can apply to any faction really from World War I. Typically, however, the Germans had a little bit nicer of trenches, usually using concrete and stuff when setting their trenches. However, this design here still can cover pretty much any nation. And you can also take this design and adapt it and make it into your own design, but it's a really good, I think, base design that will let you guys really go crazy and, you know, be able to make some really accurate and really cool looking World War I type trench designs. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that this is going to be a multi-part series. So this is going to be part 1, and we're going to slowly add more and more parts onto this tutorial, which will basically include various different details, bunkers, machine guns, nests, basically anything that would be going into a trench in World War I. We're going to be slowly adding on to this design and making a pretty cool, complex design with several other little add-ons that you can put onto this trench to kind of make it your own unique style. Now, before we go ahead and jump into the tutorial for it, I want to go ahead and quickly cover how trenches were actually designed and used in World War I. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and talk about the initial design of a trench. Now this right here is a cross-section of what a trench would look like. We basically have the floorboards and basically the bottom of the trench here. We have the fire step, which is what they would stand on to shoot. Sometimes ammunition cells were carved in the side here to store ammunition. We have the parapet up on top here, usually sandbags. And basically mounds of dirt. Then usually typically in front of the trenches we have barbed wire, and I just released a pretty in-depth tutorial for 3 different designs of barbed wire you could put in front of your trench if you do want to. And then after that you have no man's land and basically all the other fortifications and destruction that you would see in no man's land. Behind this, basically behind the front of the trench, we typically had dugouts, and we also had again more sandbags and more structure and support beams and stuff like that to add more rigidity to the actual trenches themselves. Now looking at the trench system themselves and how they were typically designed. As you can see here, if we go ahead and zoom in a little bit here, you can see here we have basically no man's land, barbed wire of course, all the craters, all that stuff. Now this trench system design here is basically what you would typically see. Now you would typically see a trench that would basically form the front line, and this right here is basically where the majority of the fighting would take place. Behind this trench, you would have various little offshoots that shoot back to a secondary trench. Now, this trench was designed basically to house some of the command facilities, some of the kitchen areas, latrines, and stuff like that. That's typically what you saw here in the support trench. However, it also acted as a backup trench in case the frontline trench was captured. As you'll notice here, these trenches are not straight across. They are in a zigzag pattern, and this is very important, as when they built these trenches, they didn't want one section of the trench, if it got compromised, allowing the enemy to shoot all the way down their trenches and kill a lot of soldiers if they were able to get a flanking maneuver done. So that's why we have the zigzag here, which creates these blind corners, or suicide corners I believe is what they are also called, where basically you couldn't just shoot down the trenches, you had to actually push your way through it, and made it a lot difficult to actually attack and hold these, or easier to hold but harder to attack. We can see then from the support trench we come back here and we have the reserve trench. And the reserve trench here was designed to basically supply these lines. So supplies were brought through here, troops were brought through here, changing out regiments and stuff like that were all done basically coming through this trench and flowing up and connecting up here. And that's really what we saw. You can see dugouts here. Typically dugouts were in the front line trench, and then also you had deeper dugouts which housed the command facilities, kitchens, and sometimes sleeping quarters and stuff like that if you have a little bit more of a nicer trench like the Germans had. And then further back you had obviously the artillery, which is way back behind lines. So hopefully this here helps kind of give you guys an overall idea of the trenches and what I was trying to go for when designing these, and we're going to go ahead and now move into the actual layout and design for these trenches. So going ahead and moving into setting the layout for your trenches. I highly recommend before we go ahead and start breaking ground and digging into the actual surface and what we're going to be putting in these trenches, you have a good area picked out. These trenches are going to work best on usually flatter surfaces, though they could work in hilly type terrain that would require some different modification, a little bit more kind of thinking on your end to basically make that work, but I do recommend having this typically on a flat surface. A lot of times we saw our no man's lands and these type of World War I battlefields usually on kind of some sort of plains. Now, the thing to take into account here is that we need to have a lot of space. So if we're going to be building this historically accurate and having our 3 lines of trench, you need to make sure you have obviously plenty of space for this to actually work. Let's go ahead and get started with our layout. Now, this layout here can be as long as you guys want it to. You can have basically less zigzag, you can have more zigzag. It's kind of up to you guys, but I just want to go ahead and show you guys exactly what I did for mine. We're going to go ahead and start off by placing down a row of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 and 16 blocks. So you have 16 blocks like that across. Now this right here is going to create one of our forward sections here of our zigzag. And then back from this, we're going to go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we're just going to go ahead and go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now in our trenches, I made these about 3 wide in the center. So we're going to leave space of 3 here, so that leaves 2 spaces for walking, and then basically 1 space here for our fire step, if you remember the cross section we showed earlier. We're going to be going ahead and leaving our space a space of 2 on the sides here, and we're going to place down a row of 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we want to go and then go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we're going to stop at 9. We're going to go back 7 on this side as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And over here, we're going to go back 1, 2, 3. So we get something that looks like this so far for our layout. As you can see here, we have a space of 3 in between here. And then we have a space of 2 here for the walkways to the side. Now once we get to this point, we're going to be going ahead and starting to get into basically our section that kind of pops back here. And this right here is going to be a row of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 in total that's going to go across here. Actually, should be 10 in total. So we're going to go from this block here. We're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to go back this section here. 1, 2, 3, and 4 more back. We're going to leave a space of 3 here as we are going to have a fire step. So we're going to have a row that goes across here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 and 16 blocks out to the side here. Now we're going to do basically the same thing we did over there. So we're going to go forward from this block here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then we're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then over here, we're just going to go ahead and go forward from this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 blocks. We're going to then go out to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks like so. We're going to go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 blocks back on this side. And then over here, 1, 2, 3, and it would go back a little bit further and all that. But basically, this is the design we're going for. And you can kind of see here that we would just continue basically this design for however long we want to do the trench. Now this here shows you guys a nice basic overview of what this would typically look like. So basically from here you would take this out and go as far as you really want with it. And that's the beauty with this design, is that you do have quite a bit of flexibility in how far out you want to go with it and extending it. And obviously you can make these gaps here. If you don't like this much zigzag, you can go ahead and have it a little bit less dramatic. But that's kind of the overall design we're going here for this. Now that we have our outline done, we can go ahead and start breaking the ground. When it comes to going ahead and detailing it, the first thing we're going to be going ahead and doing is the walls for the trench. Now we purposely dug it out as thick as we did to make it an easier time for us to go ahead and add our walls in. Now for our walls, we're going to be going ahead and starting off by going ahead and visiting our corners here. In our corner sections, we want to go ahead and place down a oak wood log that goes up like this. So we're going to start on the section here that pops out toward the front. We're going to place down an oak wood log that goes up like this, and it's going to go ahead and stick out one more above the surface. We're going to go ahead and place down 2 spruce wood planks here on the bottom, 2 granite walls, and behind those granite walls we're going to replace the 2 grass blocks here with some spruce wood planks. And we're going to go ahead and do a row of spruce wood trapdoors on top of these 2 granite blocks and have them opened up out toward the side like so. We're going to go and do the same thing here again. So a oak wood log that goes up 3, 2 spruce wood planks here, 2 granite walls, and we're going to then place down our spruce wood trapdoors. And also don't forget the spruce wood planks here behind those granite walls, just so that it doesn't look like dirt directly behind it. Once we have that done, once we get to this point, we're going to go and place down another oak wood log that goes up 3. In this space here, we're going to place down a spruce wood plank, a granite wall on top of it. We're going to go and then wrap this around, place down our oak wood log that goes up like so. We're going to go then do a space of 3, which is going to be the spruce wood plank. And then we're going to go and place down our granite wall, spruce wood plank behind it, and then our spruce wood trapdoor. We then want to take our oak wood logs, place down 3 up. We're going to then go 1 and 2, spruce wood planks over, 2 granite walls, spruce wood planks behind those granite walls, and we want to go and then place down a row of 2 of spruce wood trapdoors like that. And basically what you're going to do now is take this section and flip it over to the other side, and this will basically wrap around. Go ahead and covering this back wall here, or actually we'll go and do the front across here first. We're going to go and take our spruce wood planks here, and for this, we're going to go ahead and do it a little bit differently. So for this, we're going to go ahead and place down a row of oak wood. We're going to skip a space of 2, place down a row of oak wood that goes up, and we want to go ahead and then skip another space of 2, and another row of 2 of oak wood up. We're going to go to the opposite corner and bring the same thing over. So 3 oak wood logs up, skip a space of 2, 3 oak wood logs, skip a space of 2, and 3 oak wood logs. And this actually works out perfectly. So it's just going to be like that. And this right here can be filled in with spruce wood planks all the way across the bottom here. And then, of course, our granite walls going across as well. And then after that, we're just going to go ahead and place down our spruce wood planks behind those granite walls. And then we're going to go ahead and take our spruce wood trapdoors, place down a row of 2 across here, and basically just close this up to start forming the walls here of our trench. So just like that. And that's going to basically start wrapping around there. Now, we're going to go and then basically just take the same thing and do it over here to this side. Now, going ahead and covering the back wall, we're going to go and start off by going ahead and placing down a row of, or we're going to have to find the center space here. So we have these 2 blocks here on the center of this stick out here. As you can see, this is 8 blocks wide. We're going to go to both sides of that row of 2, place down 3 oak wood logs going up. And we want to go then skip out to the corner side here, or actually it's going to be the section right before the corner. And we're going to place down 2 oak wood logs up as well. Now, once we get to this point here, we want to go and then place down a oak wood log over here to this side as well. And so it's going to be just like we did for that back wall there. We're going to place down our spruce wood planks here, our granite walls in the spaces here, spruce wood planks behind those granite walls, and then we're going to place down spruce wood trapdoors on top of those granite walls just like that. And that's going to basically start to form the walls here. Now, once we get to this point, we're going to then place down a spruce wood plank that's going to be in the corner here, a granite wall on top of it. And then we're going to take our oak wood logs, we're going to place down 1 and 2 that go up right here. From this going back, we're going to go and skip a space of 2, place down 2 oak wood planks, place down 2 oak wood logs up. Again, skip a space of 2, 2 oak wood planks, and then 2 oak wood logs that go up as well from that. We're going to then place down 2 granite walls here between those blocks, spruce wood planks on the back side here, and then spruce wood trapdoors on top of these granite walls, like so. And then across this back wall, we're going to basically do the same thing we did for this front wall. So we're just going to go ahead and every other 2 spaces, place down 2 oak wood logs up, like so, and just like that. And this design is a little bit different on the back here. So on the back, we actually are going to be going ahead and leaving a space of 3 in the middle. So we're going to do 2 of these rows of 2. We're going to leave a space of 3 here in the center, and then we want to go and do a row of 2. And skip and then do another row 2 like that. So we're going to have a row 3 there in the center, as this is a row of 9 that goes across here. So it is slightly different. Anyways, once we have that done, we're going to go ahead and also place down a spruce wood plank in between these oak wood logs, going all the way across here. And we're going to then take our granite walls and place it down in between these blocks. So like this, going all the way across, and like so. And then on top here, obviously, spruce wood trapdoors. And that right there is going to basically do it for our wall here. And on the opposite side here, we're just going to go ahead and basically do the same thing we've been doing. So we're just going to go ahead and take this out. We'll have a space of 3 here in the center, and then a space of 1 here to the sides. And it's basically just the same design. So it's this repetitive design that's just going to be going basically throughout the entire trench here. And this is going to basically form up the walls here for the trench. And that's really all you need to do. It's a pretty straightforward design, nothing too complicated, at least I think. And you're just going to go and take this and apply this to the entire walls of your trench. And I'll be back here shortly once I have that done. And just like that, we have our walls here complete for the trench. And it's looking pretty good so far. However, we're going to make it look better. Now, you can see here, obviously, the dirt that we had on the bottom of the trench turned to grass. We obviously do not want that. We're going to be using a very nice palette of blocks to go and create a really nice kind of texture, muddy / somewhat built up design here for the bottom of the trench. Now again, this entirely depends on what kind of trench you want to make. If you want to make a more cleaner trench, you can go and use just entirely spruce wood, the strip spruce wood. I think it looks great. Maybe add some pressure plates here and there around it. But for me, I like to go ahead and make my trenches look muddy. I like to make them look worn. I like to make it look like there's been some action and they don't look in the nicest condition. So for this, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going ahead and using a mixture of blocks. Now we're going to be going ahead and using strip spruce wood planks, some coarse dirt, and some pot soil. And every once in a while, we're going to put a little bit of water. And I'm going to typically reserve this for like the corners or kind of areas that are out of the way. Now, if we do put water in, make sure that the blocks here on the side walls here, we're going to go and change to spruce wood planks just to kind of make it look a little bit more consistent. And obviously the block below it will change to a dirt type color. Now, we're going to use that very sparingly, the water, but the rest of the blocks we're just going to go ahead and basically randomize. Now, for me, I like to have a little bit more wood than I have mud. So we're going to go and kind of add a little bit more wood. We're going to add the spruce wood planks in here for a little bit more texture to the build. And since we have some water right here, I'm going to go and keep it a little bit more muddy in this corner. And we're going to, again, just place the coarse dirt in the pot soil, kind of randomizing or randomly mixed in here. But you can see we're keeping the majority of it wood for the flooring. And this is just going to go and continue to work its way throughout the entire trench. And you can see again, I'm randomizing it. I'm not doing any particular pattern. We don't want that. We want it to look randomized. We want it to make it look like it's been through war. It's not a very clean looking trench. It's, you know, definitely seen some better days. And again, we're going to put some water here, have a little bit of mud around it, and just kind of continue to work our way back. So it's all about using your imagination, kind of think realistically where water would be positioned in the trench, where, you know, mud would be around and all that stuff. And you don't have to go anything too crazy, but just a basic kind of variant of your blocks here is really going to do wonders for your trench and really add a lot of detail, especially when you're walking through it. And we basically get something that kind of looks like this here for our ground texture. And as you can already see, makes a big difference. Now, one thing we can also do here is to even go a little bit more above and beyond. We can show a little bit of mud that's kind of been piled up in here. Fortunately, we don't have any dirt slabs. We can go ahead and use some dark oak wood slabs and maybe even some spruce wood slabs to kind of show a little bit of mounds of dirt that's kind of been piled up here and kicked around and stuff like that in the trench. So we'll kind of throw a little bit in back there. We don't want to, again, this is just like the water, we don't want to do this too much. Just kind of here and there where you think some mud might be piled up, especially these corners here would be a good place to kind of, you know, maybe have a little bit more. You can even go a full block if you wanted to, but just kind of give it a little bit, you know, extra kind of grimy, dirty type feeling to it. And you're just going to take this design and apply it to your entire trench, and I'll come back here in a sec once we have that done and we'll take a look at it. And as you can see, I went ahead and filled in the rest of the trench with all of our pot soil and randomized blocks and created this nice texture here for the ground. Again, you can see it looks really nice. And again, you can see I used the water sparingly. I only had a little bit of water over here, and this side of the trench over here is dry. So again, you want to use that very sparingly. But basically, once we get to this point here, what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and then build our fire step. Our fire step here, we're only going to have on the sides of the trench facing toward the no man's land. So that's going to be this side right here, this side right here, this side, and this side. We're not going to have it on the sides of the walls here or on the back side, as it just wouldn't make any sense. So for this, real simply, we're just going to be going ahead and using the strip spruce wood, and we're just going to place down a row across the front here like that. And that's all you need to do. It's going to create your fire step here, and we're going to do this basically on each side of our trench here. That's going to be going in our long straight line here and facing toward the front. So that's a super simple design, and it's going to go here this row and also right here as well. So just like that, and at this point here you can stand on it and you're a little bit more elevated in the trench to potentially be able to fire you know, your weapon or stuff like that theoretically from it. Now, one thing I also want to mention here for the ground is you can also go ahead and take some spruce wood planks, or sorry, pressure plates, and just kind of randomly throw them in here a little bit to kind of create a little bit more texture to the ground. Not 100% necessary, but it does create kind of a cool little design here, and especially when you're walking around down here, adds just that little bit of extra 3D effect to kind of create a little bit more of a rugged type design again for the trench here. And again, we're going for something that's not really well kept here. Something a little bit more grimy, a little bit dirty, definitely more of like a Allied type trench compared to a German one. But yeah, we get that more kind of grimy effect with that. And if we want to also, we can go and take stone buttons and throw in some stone buttons here. Very sparingly again for some small rocks that have kind of wound up here in the trench through, you know, being flung up by explosions or, you know, knocked in by troops entering and exiting the trench here. And again, we're not going to put too many around, just, you know, ones here and there around the trench, just to kind of give a little bit of extra, you know, color and a little bit of extra detail to the bottom of the trenches. So once we have that all complete there, that is pretty much the floor here of our trench. We're going to go now cover basically what to do on the outsides of the trench. So as it stands with our trenches right now, we can see that obviously they stick out of the ground by one block. It looks kind of weird if we leave like that, and we need to show a little bit more realism to it. Well, what's realistic about a trench being dug out is that that dirt needs to go somewhere. A lot of times that dirt was just piled up over the sides, which created these higher walls for the trench, but basically it was just a, you know, little slope in front of it that makes the trench look a lot deeper than it really is. And that's what we're going to go ahead and create here. Now this I'm not going to cover in too much detail because basically all it involves is placing down blocks randomly in a nice looking pattern to go ahead and create this design. But all we're going to be doing here is we're just going to be going ahead and placing down a few blocks here using pot soil and coarse dirt. I think look the best for this. And we're just going to go ahead and basically wrap it around our trench system here. Now we're not going to go super crazy with it. We're not going to go super wild, but we're just going to go ahead and wrap it around and just kind of create a random type shape from it. And don't be afraid to go ahead and give yourself a little bit of thickness on it. You don't have to like have it only one block around. We don't want this even, as, you know, again, this is not super nicely designed. It's pretty hastily put together, quickly dug to, you know, go with the changing front lines of World War I. And we're just going to go ahead and kind of randomly put this around. We're not going to just be doing our straight lines across like, you know, like so. We want to go ahead and make sure that we're randomizing it, having it kind of, you know, come out further on some parts and go in on some parts. Again, we're just kind of making sure we're trying to keep some realism into it as best we can here. And we're going to basically just wrap this around the entire thing. Now, I'm not going to go and do the whole thing, as I think you guys all understand the basic idea what we're going for here. However, once we get to this point here, we can go ahead and then take our slabs, and also to kind of show a little bit more of a casual decline here, we can go ahead and put some slabs here around the dirt to kind of give it a little bit more of a mound-like effect. And again, we're not going to be doing a, you know, same kind of uniform pattern all the way across here. We definitely want to randomize it up, make it look, again, hastily made, dirt kind of thrown around, not really put into a specific, you know, basically design. And we're just going to kind of do this all the way around. And you can always see that this does leaps and bounds for our trench. You can already really look at it and see like, okay, that looks way better compared to this. Or if we just had a surface that just went straight across here and just went down like that. And I mean, we'll take a look here at the two differences, and you can clearly see there's definitely a difference in what would aesthetically look better in the world. So that's kind of what we're going here for this. And we're going to basically take this, and this is going to apply to the entire outer border of the trench. Obviously, it's pretty time consuming, but I do think that it's worth it in the end. Again, also, if you are building this in a no man's land, most of the time you're going to have your field pretty dirty and muddy already, but you want to make sure that these blocks also kind of carry into the ground here a little bit. And if you do have grass around, you can kind of fade it into the grass. So as we'll do here, we're just going to kind of have the dirt kind of piled up here in the grass as well. So it kind of overflowed, obviously, from the trench here, and kind of dirt just covering up some portions of the grass around the trench. And we're just going to go ahead and basically do this all the way around. So just kind of putting it into the ground. Again, you guys kind of get the general idea. We're not going to go super far off of it, but, you know, just enough like that. And in these sections, we can go ahead and grab ourselves some tall grass if we want to, for example, or just some normal grass. Just kind of throw it around here as well. If you want to show it a little bit more age, if you want to show the trenches have been around there for a little bit longer, add some grass to it. And obviously, have that go into no man's land. We can add some stone buttons here for, you know, various little rocks around the trench here. And again, you know, you can really go crazy with it. You know, just do whatever you think looks good for it. You know, detailing and all that stuff. And you're going to get yourself a really cool looking design there. So we can already see just that right there alone compared to the other side there. What's really going to look good and really pop out in your worlds and make people look at your trenches and be like, wow, that's actually pretty cool. So that's kind of what we're going for here. That's kind of a general idea for it. And you can take this idea and really expand upon it and really stretch out your trenches. So that right there is it for that. Let's go ahead and move into talking about sand pits. Alright guys, so let's talk about sandbags. Now, sandbags here are very important. They are a common fortification that's used basically across history, really. Really, I would say probably from World War I onwards, really starting to see it become a major part of combat and being a type of fortification. World War I trenches obviously were no exception to this. For me personally, I think the best looking block here for sandbags is endstone. It has that texture to it, has that sandbag type color, and it has the individual lines which kind of show individual sandbags. I think it works perfectly for what we're trying to do here. Now, if you remember back to the cross section here, usually they had an amount of sandbags here in the front of the trench, which served as a parapet, which gave a little bit of cover to the actual troops that would be staying up here firing. And then typically there was also sandbags on the back here. Now, for me personally, I like to go ahead and put sandbags layered up against this wall. And all the walls that we have our firing step here, we want to go ahead and add sandbags. Now, this is something that's completely optional. You don't have to do this. I think it looks cool. Just adds a little bit more. It makes these sides especially look more fortified as they are where troops are going to be stationed and firing. So this right here very simply involves taking some endstone, and we're going to just go ahead and put some endstone here in between our oak wood logs instead of having the standard wall design. And we can go ahead and mix this up by going ahead and placing in some upside down stairs here to show maybe some sandbags missing, some birchwood buttons or some birchwood signs here just to kind of add a little bit more detail to that, and that kind of spices up the wall a little bit better. We could also maybe have, you know, some of the wall covered in sandbags, so we don't have the entire thing. It's just part of it has got covered, and the rest of it's just kind of, you know, still the wall behind it, and, you know, we can maybe do some kind of sandbag type design like this. So it's kind of, you know, like that or something. Again, you can kind of go crazy with this design. It's entirely up to you guys. The more randomization, the more kind of ugliness and, you know, craziness you add to your trench, the better design it's going to look. It's going to look more like a World War I trench. It's going to give you those vibes when you go into it. You're going to feel like you're actually in a trench. And trenches were by no means a clean, you know, fully organized place. And you can see here this wall here already looks a little bit more fortified, looks a little bit more beefed up. And if we want to also, we can have some sandbag spillage, so it kind of flows down here into the firing ledge, and this will kind of, you know, maybe have some sandbags that have fallen down here, been knocked over by, you know, blasts or whatever. I mean, again, your imagination's endless for this. I'm just showing you guys ideas of what you can do, and I'm sure some of you guys will come up with some even crazier ideas to add to this, but that's all we have right there. Sandbags, super easy, and that's adding to the inside walls. We're going to go now talk about adding the sandbags on top here. Now, as you can see here for this trench design, I went ahead and added the sandbags completely around the perimeter of the walls. You don't have to do this, but I strongly recommend it. And for these sandbags, we're going to go ahead and be positioning these on our firing line sides. So this side's here. We're going to go ahead and basically be placing them down on top of these blocks here. Now we're going to go ahead and again use a randomization tool here. Basically going ahead and placing down random slabs, stairs, full blocks, and even in some cases a upside down stair. It creates a little cubby there for a potential gunner to be able to shoot from. And we're just going to basically place this randomly all the way across here. Don't be afraid to maybe have a slab go forward or two, or maybe a sandbag that, you know, fell down or something, you know, a little stack of them right there. We can kind of mix it into our kind of mound that we have built up here as well. And this is just going to go ahead and run the perimeter of your trenches all the way around. Again, we're not doing anything crazy here. It's pretty simple in design and just involves a lot of randomizing blocks that's just going to wrap around the entire perimeter of your trench. And we'll add some, again, firing holes here and there and stuff like that. So really we're not doing anything too drastic here. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We can have some kind of blocks that have a little bit more gaps in there if we want to, and it just creates a more fortified look. When you look at it, you're thinking that's a little bit more of a fortified type area than just the trench without. And that right there is going to go ahead and wrap around the entire perimeter here of your trench. Now, again, you don't have to do it for your entire perimeter, but I encourage it. I think it looks pretty good and will make a good design. And once you have that wrapped around your entire trench, you can also go ahead and take some slabs, again, for our mounds, and we can go ahead and kind of fit these in here in sections like this to kind of show some, extra dirt piled up here in front of these blocks. Even throw some grass up here if we wanted to. We're not going to go crazy with it up there, as obviously that part is dug out and just, dirty, nasty mud and all that stuff left over from the digging. But yeah, this is just going to go and wrap around. It's pretty simple. I mean, I don't really know how much more to explain it than, what it is that I'm doing here. So, again, a really nice design. We're going to add some life here to your trenches and definitely make them, look really cool, really, detailed and clean. And you can just look at that. You look at that, you think that looks pretty good. That's a pretty nice looking trench there. And then you go inside here and you just have all this vast amount of detail, extra little things you can do. And obviously this is a little bit more of a time consuming type design, but it's definitely worth it in the very end. You're going to get a really nice looking design. And that right there is going to pretty much cover what we have here for our first part of the trenches. We can also, if we again want to add a little bit more detail here, we can go ahead and grab some spruce wood buttons, and we'll just go ahead and kind of put them here on the tops of the oak wood logs just to kind of make them look a little bit nicer. And we can do that all the way around here for the trench. But I think this is just a really nice design. Looks really clean. Well, looks clean as in it looks good. But it's just gonna work so well on your worlds, and I definitely look forward to seeing what some people are able to do with this. And as you can see here, this design looks super nice. And this is just the basic shape design I wanted to show you guys. Our future parts are gonna be covering dugouts, building little command bunkers underneath, and pillboxes, machine gun nests, and all that stuff. So really get ready. Start prepping these trenches, all that stuff, because when those parts release, you're definitely going to want to add those to even make these trenches look even more extreme with detail and just realistic aspects to it. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this overall kind of basic design here for the trenches, and hopefully it does help you guys get at least an idea, or even give you guys a strong start on building some really cool World War I fortifications and really making a really cool World War I map, especially if all the vehicles we've been releasing as of late. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this tutorial. If you guys do end up using this design, do I say you guys give me proper credit for it? This can be anything from a side of the build to my channel or this video if there's other social media sites. As long as you guys give me proper credit for the build, you're free to use it for a project you guys are working on. Overall, enjoy the build, have fun with it, and all that fun stuff. But with that, that's going to pretty much do it for this video. Thank you guys again so much for watching. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Greg204, and I'll see you guys next time.